Hello, my name is Rochelle Frank, and I am an associate professor of neurology at California North State University. I'm also co-chair of the wellness committee there, and I am vice chair of the AAN section in neurohealth and integrative medicine. I'm also a member of the committee for AAN in the Live Well ELA, as well as my local medical society Joy of Medicine committee. And at this year's AAN conference, I was going to give a talk about wellness tips for the busy neurologist. Since that did not happen, I have modified this talk to be something that could be online and also be given at this time and focus on wellness tips that are really in the moment. In that spirit, this talk has two parts. The first 3 minutes or so are some thoughts of general ways to approach this. And then you can make your own decision on whether to watch the rest of the talk, which are specific wellness tips. So let's get started. Many of you have a lot of ideas of what to do for your wellness and maybe have told your patients or others in your life. It's actually simple. There are many ideas, but unfortunately, it's not as easy to do them all. In fact, it can be quite stressful. So I really want to boil things down to one question for you today. And the question is, what can you do for your wellness today? And more importantly, what can you do right now? When some of you hear this, you might have an answer. Some of you might have an answer of what to do, but can't see how to get it into your day. And some of you might not know. I hope this talk will help all of you. The first thing to approach this talk, I would ask you to be kind to yourself. This is actually something I've had at my computer for a while, and it's a reminder for me. And I'd ask you to do the same, especially about your wellness. There's so many things we can do and so many things we can do for our patients and others in our lives. Please be kind to yourself and know you're doing as much as you can. And in the same spirit, I'd ask you to take away shoulds. We should be doing this, we should be exercising, we should be doing this for our family or our patients or whatever. And I would encourage you, when you notice yourself thinking this way, to let it go. Not everyone does this, but many of us do. And speaking of shoulds, this is a point in the talk that I will start going to specifics. If this has been helpful to you and you want to stop now, thank you for joining me. If not, please continue with me, and do know that all these ideas will be available in PDFs, and I do have a lot of references on the slides that you can use. The first thing I want to ask you to do is to look at breathing. I'm sure a lot of you have heard to watch your breath and to listen. This is something that I, for years, heard, and I can tell you that for a long time it meant nothing to me. And then I realized how powerful this really is. So I ask you right now to just do the simplest breathing exercise. There are many, but the simplest is just paying attention to your breath. You can do this for even one breath, but I ask you to do it for 3. And just pay attention to your breath. You can do this anywhere. Pay attention to the inhale and to the exhale. Inhaling new things and exhaling the old and used. And do notice that between the inhale and the exhale, there is a very quiet moment that you can focus on as well. The most powerful story I've heard about this from someone was a colleague who was a pediatrician who saw many patients a day. And after a mindfulness course, she told me that she did this simple 3 breaths. And she did it before going into every patient room. She told me this cut 45 minutes off her day. So that can be the power of it. And remember to stretch. This is something we can do. And if you're in a place you can, I'd ask you to do your favorite stretch right now. Do what works for you. Could be a twist, could be putting your arms above your head or stretching your legs, anything that works. And just go ahead and try that. Taking it a step further, we always think of body language as something that we do in our communication and nonverbal communication with others. But it actually is a communication with ourselves and our states of mind. And this TED Talk is a short one that is actually very interesting and has power poses. I want to give you a wellness pose that I learned a while ago. So if you're in a negative emotion or you're frustrated, you're angry or something else, one of the things you can do, and if you're alone, you can try doing this, is just bringing your arms up and looking up like this. Now just try it. Now I'd ask you if any of these 3 brief moments you could take were helpful. And if any of them were, I'd encourage you to use them again. And remember to walk, remember to move. And of course, the should comes in of the amount of time and days, how many days a week. And that if we can't do that, a lot of us just give up. Just do what you can. Maybe it's just walking around the hallway in your office or walking around the building. If you're running around the hospital, maybe you just need a real walk outside for just a few minutes. And remember, it's all cumulative. So just remember to move in whatever way works for you. Remember to take care of your needs. This should be obvious when we say it to others, but have you been drinking water? Did you go to the bathroom? Have you had a snack or a meal? Now I'm going to move more towards approach. And Viktor Frankl, many of you may know, was a neurologist and psychiatrist who was in the concentration camps in Nazi Germany. And he wrote a book, My Search for Meaning, on the things he observed with people while he was in this environment. And one of the things he said is everything can be taken from a man, but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. So if you are in a very stressful time, which many of us are, please do look at how you can reframe things. I had a wise friend once say, an exercise you can do is if you have a way you're looking at something that is making you upset or otherwise is not helpful, think of 2 other ways to look at it so you have 3 total. And this could be a frustration with a person or a system or anything. And then you have 3 to choose from. The most powerful story I have on this as well is Nelson Mandela, who after decades in prison was able to lead a country when he got out. And people who observed him in prison pointed to his attitude towards being in prison as part of how he could be a powerful leader after such an experience. Couple references on the bottom here. One is another way to look at stress that I would encourage you to watch. It's very interesting, is to change your mindset. And here's a video from the Cleveland Clinic, which is another way to look at how many of you may have seen this, but how to look at things through the eyes of others. I've seen it many times, but it always reminds me. And mindfulness gets a lot of press these days. I think a lot of us think of mindfulness, well, we need to set aside 20 minutes a day or maybe 10 or whatever, but we need to set aside a certain amount of time a day to make this work. We can be mindful in the moment. And this first video is only about 5 minutes, and it talks about having a 1-minute meditation or 1-minute sitting. I would encourage you to look at this. It is an app as well, and here's some other apps that are listed, as well as a website, Headspace, which many people have free access. I think most physicians have free access to right now. So I encourage you to look at what kind of website or resource could be useful for you. And another way to reframe is treat yourself. What brings you joy? This is a question that all of us can ask ourselves and just pay attention. And I looked and found a few things to share with you. This is my grandpuppy, and I bet a lot of you can see why this could bring joy. And for a lot of people, their pets bring joy. For a lot of people, family brings joy. And this is me with my family, first time at the Star Trek convention last year. So now you know another quirk I have. And I would just say that your friends, your family, whoever it is in your life, even just seeing a picture of them on your desk could be helpful. And take a moment with those people or other people. If you can laugh, if you can dance, if you can sing, anything, playing around, anything to break the moment. One of the things that's biggest for me is nature. And here's one of my favorite places in the world, which is Yosemite and Half Dome here. I have a picture of Half Dome on my desk. And I encourage you to have pictures on your desk or in your phone or anywhere else that will remind you of what brings you joy. And could it be a refreshing drink, like infused water or tea or other drinks? And I would encourage you, the one on the left, the right side, looks a lot like a resort picture and some cool, refreshing infused water or something. And why couldn't we have infused water in our office? We forget there's really simple ways we can treat ourselves. And that could be to nutritious food or to anything else. And when I hear relax, this is what I think. I think I need to be near an infinity pool at a beautiful resort and just in a place I can settle down. But what if it's just having some coffee with a book or resting for a few minutes, setting a timer and just taking a break? Whatever that looks like, see what makes you feel better. And remember, another approach is gratitude. What are you grateful for? Robert Evans is someone who lives near me, actually, and is a world expert in gratitude. And here's a link for how to create a gratitude journal and some links to articles about studies in gratitude. When you look at keeping a journal, it's really this simple, or can be, is write 3 things down a day that you're grateful for, and you vary them every day. You could even just do 1. The trick is thinking this way really affects your whole day. And this first video is actually a short TED Talk that is only a few minutes long when you get to the 3.5-minute mark, only less than 5 minutes. And it is about having a grateful day. And it is, the narration and the pictures are amazing. And it's an uplifting thing if you can use anytime. And along with gratitude, how many of you have people that appreciate you? And how many of you notice? I know for me, this was really tough for many years. I didn't notice patients saying thank you. I didn't notice my students saying thank you. And what I've done is I've started collecting these things. I started cutting and pasting emails in a HIPAA compliant way. I started keeping all the thank you notes. I started trying to remember all those times I had moments where there was gratitude. And I'm sure that that's something that is a place to look for many of you. Also would encourage you to appreciate others. That also gives you something. And purpose. What brings you purpose? And what gets you out of bed in the morning? Viktor Frankl actually says, he who has a why to live for can endure almost any how. And that is something to think about. It really doesn't take very long, if you know what your purpose is, to just put that at center and have it help guide your day. And that can be a purpose for the day or an overall purpose. Here's a couple videos about TED Talks about purpose. And then there's this video, Dream Rangers, which is a true story about some Taiwanese men that is acted out, and it's only a few minutes long, but very uplifting and fun. And they find purpose again in their old age. Encourage you to connect to those in your lives, very important. And do remember your community and the resources available. That could be in personal communities you have. Many of the hospital systems and healthcare systems now have lots of resources for wellness, and they keep increasing all the time, so I would look there. And our AAN is great about wellness and keeps increasing these resources, so I encourage you to keep looking. Local medical societies and other community resources are doing the same thing. And you may have some wellness tips to share. Please do share them with people around you in your communities in any way you can. One last tip is what works for you today may be different from tomorrow. So sometimes we say, well, I'm going to do this every day, and that can be a really good practice, and I would encourage you if you can do that. If you find that's difficult and then you go back to the shoulds and not being kind, just look, what can you do in the moment right now? Maybe these or some other thing. And varying it up is great. I'm going to end with just a couple quotes. One is from the Dalai Lama, and I think these 2 quotes are particularly relevant right now. So one is, remember that not getting what you want is sometimes a wonderful stroke of luck. This last quote is one that I want to preface by saying I really think meaning is important. In fact, I think it's one of the best antidotes for burnout is keeping meaning in our lives. But I do think this quote has a different perspective on meaning that's particularly important right now. People say that what we're all seeking is a meaning for life. I don't think that's what we're really seeking. I think that what we're seeking is an experience of being alive, so that our life experiences on the purely physical plane will have resonances with our own innermost being and reality, so that we actually feel the rapture of being alive. Joseph Campbell. And I want to end by my appreciation for all of you. I know that right now you are doing many things for many people, and thank you for doing those things. And I hope that you can thank yourself and give yourself a pat on the back. Please take care of yourself. Please be well, and thanks for joining me.